आम्ही घेतली. बोर्ड मीटिंग पहिली जी आशिल्ली was in basically to on the concept of transparency and on the concept of ease of doing business also. आम्ही कितें केलां की कांय गोष्टीची तुमकां मेन इश्यूज पयलीं काडटा हांव. एक 5 आयटम आशिल्ल्यो. एक म्हणजे स्ट्रीमलायनिंग ऑफ आमकां 500 स्क्वेअर मिटर पर्यंत बिल्टअप 500 स्क्वेअर मिटर पर्यंत जे बिल्टअप जी एरिया आहा ती 500 स्क्वेअर मिटर पर्यंत बिल्टअप एरिया आमी जे आयडेंटिफाय केला आमी जे सांगल्या त्यो built-up area up to 500 square meters, which will be ground plus 2, along with the stilt, will be under self-attestation. So that if we are empaneling some, we are opening the empanelment for architects, so that they'll be empaneled with the Department of Town Planning. So you can go to that architect where we have reduced the further experience, we have reduced from 10 years to 5 years. And as a result of which, they'll be in a position, so there's more scope for more number of architects to take part. Then and engineers to take part, so that they can attest these plans. So up to 500 square meters, you don't have to go to the PDA, or you don't have to go to the town planning department. You can directly get it self-attestation and pay online the fees that are required of infrastructure and other things. This is a revolutionary step as far as the Department of Town Planning is concerned. Today we have starting with for the first 3 months up to 500 square meters, and then based on the experiment that we are doing, we will increase the scope of the work of the self-attestation and engineers. So the role of the PDA and town planning department, the load also reduces, so we can concentrate on policy planning, town planning and other aspects. आम्ही हे जे दोन सांगले तुमकां सेल्फ अटेस्टेशन जो इशू. तिसरो आमचो अजेंडा जो आशिल्लो इज बेसिकली 21 working days, whether it is town planning department or it is the PDAs. It will be 21. We are moving for amendment under the town planning for the town planning act, and that amendment in full form, how it will be implemented, will come in the board meeting, next board meeting. And most importantly, 21 days, if the files are not clear up to area of 2000 square meters, it will be considered as deemed approved. Implementation mechanism will be already also told to you in the after the next board meeting. Okay. Beyond 2000 square meters, the TCB it will be around 45 days. Whether it is the TCB department or if it is the PDAs, it will be applicable to both. We are also implementing, this is going to be implemented, which I said about this 500 square meters, and from 1st of May, because we are empanelling the architects, and this will be starting from the 1st of May. File management system to be adopted in town and country planning departments. This is recommended basically on order for people. When we talk of people's issues, we find that people don't know where their files are. So there basically this tracking system will enable them to basically track their files sitting at home, where the file is pending, whether it is with the minister, whether it is सगळ्या फायल्यो जे कसलेय फायचे डिपार्ट कसले फायल म्हटल्यार आता सगळे फायल्यो येता
सो फुली ऑनलाइन
हांव सांगता सगळे ऑनलाइन आमी करून तुमकां ऑनलाइन तुमकां फायल्यो दिसतल्यो. फाल्यां लौकिकान एक फायल जर घातली पीडीए तर ते मागीर तेका ते घरा बसून तो ट्रॅक करू शकता फायल खंय ती, ते कोणाचे मेजार फायलां कितले दीस उरली, थंयच्यान खंय गेली, ह्यो सगळ्यो गोष्टी ट्रान्सपरंटली पब्लीक डोमेनान हाडपाचो आमचो प्रयत्न आसा. स्ट्रीमलायनिंग प्रोसिजर इश्यूइंग परमिशन, हल्लीच मुख्यमंत्री इज ऑफ डुईंग बिझनेसच्या माध्यमांतल्यान क्रीडाच्या माध्यमांतल्यान एक सर्क्युलर इश्यू केल्लो, आणि तो सर्क्युलर फर्दर सिम्प्लिफाय करून आणि लोकांचो पीपल फ्रेंडली बेस्ड ऑन वॉट द डायरेक्शन ऑफ द चीफ मिनिस्टर. We are going to take one more round of meeting with the Architects Association and several other stakeholders to see that we have an implementation mechanism to have ease of doing business, so that the whole, it is not only giving the responsibility at different levels, but also seeing the, making clear the implementation mechanism and how we are going to implement it and make it more easier for the common man. In addition to this, the circular, we have issued another circular as far as the PDAs are concerned. This issue is already been issued by the government, ratified by the board today. Is that all the files no longer have to be going to any other higher authority. All the files will be the responsibility and accountability of the member secretary there. So the files will be all issued by the member secretary as per the directions and provisions of the Town Planning Act. This circular has already been issued. I can then share it with one of you so that you know what are the decisions that the department is taking. Transparency. In addition, what we are doing, in addition, we have also decided that under the chairmanship of the Chief Secretary along with the Chief Town Planner Mr. Rajesh Naik, we will be empaneling certain consultants by the board, and these boards consultants will be town planning consultants, maybe international, maybe national consultants. You have several consultancy firms that deal with the planning of the cities and other things. and that will be mandatory for all the PDAs if they are forming a ODP. Then they'll have to utilize the services of the any empanel consultant as empaneled by the board, which will be headed by the chief secretary, who you can put up the file to him, and then he can decide that along with CTP, they can decide that these are the agencies, any of these agencies you can utilize. We will not be giving permission for any kind of ODP or anything if they do not use these consultants. We will be going through the process of finalizing the consultants in order to bringing about uniformity in planning. नाले कितें जाता खंय तरी तुमी दिसता की एक 300 स्क्वेअर 300 FSI ची बिल्डिंग स्पेशल बिल्डिंग झोनिंग घेवन ते उबे जातात ते अशें सगळें बंद जावंक जाय. Uniformity in planning and bringing a transparency in the planning process and justification of what zoning where you are doing with thorough transparency is going to be the need of the hour. I think that is the need. If we have to see that Goa it becomes a state which is which has got a beautiful planning perspective, if you see, then we require agencies to help us do the planning along with our under the overall supervision of the chief town planner. ह्यो सगळे गोष्टी करताना आणि एक गोष्ट हा की ड्राफ्ट ओडीपीज जे केल्या हल्ली आणि इवन जे फायनल ओडीपीज जे केल्या हे पॉवर बोर्डाचो हा अंडर ग्रेव एमर्जन्सीज टू सस्पेंड दोज ओडीपीज based on all the court cases I've asked in the board meeting we have discussed to find out what are the objections, suggestions of the people, what is the situation of the people, what is the court cases, based on the seriousness of the allegations and or any cases, court cases, लोक घालता न्ही केन्ना केन्ना ऑब्जेक्शन बी खंय तरी डिस्क्रिपन्सी जर जाली आमकां जर दिसता की चड डिस्क्रिपन्सी खंय तरी जाल्या काय खंय तरी डिविएशन खंय तरी जाल्या कदाचित बोर्ड एक ड्रास्टीक निर्णय घेऊ शकता. आणि म्हणून फुडल्या बोर्ड मीटिंग बेगीन आपयतलो फुडल्या बोर्ड मीटिंग ओनली टू डिस्कस on all the court matters and other things and get a thorough briefing. In that we will take a decision on even on the final ODPs and we will, as per the provisions of law, and even on the draft ODPs we will be having a relook at all these things based on which a presentation will be given, which will take it to the board, and after that in the board we will take a decision appropriately. Now there has been several talk about 16B.
Correct.
Now 16B, I want to make it very clear that I am here for a transparent governance model, and as a result of which we are now going to ensure that all the cases of 16B, last board, all these meetings which were held in the last 2-3 board meetings, we are not notifying the minutes, we are not notifying anything, we are just keeping everything on hold. All the cases taken will be on hold. All the cases that are there. Now many times people feel third cases जाले पण आमकां कितें आमकां सारके ते स्टडी करचे पडटले कोर्ट आसल्या कारणान 16B चे केसेस चालूच उरतल्यो पण त्याच बरोबर सध्या पर्यंत आयज पर्यंत जे सगळे 16B चे मॅटर्स आयल्या they will be reviewed under a committee of Mr. James Matthew will be the chairman, CTP will be the convener, and within 45 days they will submit a report to the board. आमकां जर खंय दिसता खंय कितें चुकल्या total provisional cases considered till date have been 1,431. Total final considered जे केल्या 250. हे सगळे केसेस आम्ही परत एकदा रिव्ह्यू घेतले. 16B फुडल्या मिटिंगच्यान चालूच उरतली. सबज्युडिस स्टे काय ना त्या गोष्टीचेर आनी प्लस कोर्टान हे लॉजिकल एंडान व्हरपाक आमी आमचो प्रयत्न आसतलो. लोकांच्या हितांचे कितें काम करूंक जाय काम करपाचो डिपार्टमेंटाचो प्रयत्न आसतलो. आणि मेन म्हणजे कित्याक की हे सगळे केसेस आम्ही या कमिटीच्या माध्यमांतल्यान ते 45 डेजान रिव्ह्यू करून ते सबमिट करतले आमकां रिपोर्ट जे जर खंय कितें तरी डिविएशन जाला फ्रॉम द रुल्स अँड रेग्युलेशन्स त्यो केसेस आमी रिजेक्ट करतले. इतलेच आयजचे डिसिजन आमी बोर्डान घेतलेले आसा. I don't know final. They can apply anybody who is registered architect. They have got that. They have got their council of architects. They have to register there. Once they register there, if they have 5 years of experience, they are fine with us. We have no issue.
And fees structure
फी स्ट्रक्चरान चेंज जायना. जे फी स्ट्रक्चर सरकारान धरलेला तेच फी स्ट्रक्चर पण तुमकां पीडीए आणि टाउन प्लॅनिंग कडे येवपाची गरज.
सर ड्राफ्ट ओडीपी म्हटल्यार पळय तेजे रिव्ह्यू करतले म्हणून डज द कमिटी स्टील फायंड सम इश्यूज विथ
दॅट. I have asked for a presentation for the board. बोर्डान जेन्ना प्रेझेंटेशन येतले केन्ना केन्ना खुबशे लोक पत्र बरयतात आणि ह्यो गोष्टी आमी ठरयतले. फायनल जाल्ले परत सांगता फायनल जाल्ली ओडीपी बी आमी एक्झामीन करतले. बोर्डाक पावर आसा. Under the clause of grave emergency, we will take it up. If required, if we find there is lot of discrepancy and अचानक एक high rise building हांगा आणि मागीर हांगा 1 एकरान 1 किलोमीटरान high rise building ना मागीर आनी खंय तरी शेतान एक high rise building. Agricultural land has to be protected. Same time we have to see that slopes have to be protected. Same time we have to see that there has to be thorough transparency. हे जे ओडीपी कोणाक जर दिसता की फायनल ओडीपी जाल्या म्हणून फायनल उरतल्यो हेजे कांयच ना गॅरंटी आणि जे ड्राफ्ट ओडीपी दिले ते आम्ही स्टडी करून बोर्डान प्रेझेंटेशन घेऊन तेजेर हांव निर्णय घेतलो कितें करूंक जाय.
Would you ask the common man also to pinpoint certain issues?
रिव्ह्यू करता न्ही रिव्ह्यू म्हणजे रिव्ह्यू करपाक बी प्रेझेंटेशन जावंक जाय. हांवें तुका फक्त झलक दिल्या कितें जावपाचें.
Would you ask for suggestions also from the common man again?
ना म्हाका प्रेझेंटेशन येवन प्रेझेंटेशन आयल्या शिवाय कशें करू शकता.
So,
प्रेझेंटेशन येवंक जाय.
would you ask suggestions from common man?
सगळीकडे सगळे फायल्स आणि त्याच्या खातीर अमेंडमेंट ऑफ सीटीपी ऍक्टाक आमी बोर्डान डिसिजन घेतल्या. रेग्युलेशन ऑल्सो रेग्युलेशनान बी आमी मॉडिफिकेशन करतले.
फायल रॉंग आसा आणि तेका रॉंगली डीम अप्रुवल मेळटा.
अरे आमकां फास्ट ट्रॅक काम करचें पडटलें. आमी ते बी सांगलां खंय तरी क्वेरी असल्यार अबाउट 2000 स्क्वेअर मीटर प्रोजेक्ट काय कसो असल्यार तेका 45 days म्हणून सांगलेलें.
To give suggestions as far as the staff
No.
review.
We have planners, we have stakeholders. They are. I think they are representative of everybody. You have to understand. You have to have a simplification of process rather than make it a complicated process. There are specialized people. There are specialized people. Town planning. CTP is knowledgeable. Chief Secretary is knowledgeable. You have to understand that you take. And when we are talking about consultants and other things, we are not concerned. Don't get it wrong. There are agencies specialized for planning of cities and other things. There are special in the past. Once the regional plan in Goa was made by Kirloskar consultants. So you have to understand there are several agencies that are available. ODPs will not be at the liberty of the town PDAs. They will have to use a professional agency which has got sufficient experience, which is not going to be identified by me. It will be identified by the committee headed by the chief. We will be forming a committee headed by the chief secretary, approved by the board, and you will have to use one of these agencies from the board approved agencies to form ODP.
But if somebody wants to give an
And also
experience
one more
suggestion,
thing, we are also putting a timeline for the ODPs. We have not mentioned in today's meeting, but the timeline what is in my mind is maximum 4 to 5 months, 4 months with 30 days grace, so that there is no extension, not a single day extension.
no, but if somebody wants to give his opinion, then
You can write to the CTP for the opinion.
Sir, what about new regional plan?
ना सध्या म्हाका स्टडी करून दिया. हांव आयजूच फर्स्ट टाइम बोर्ड मिटींग घेतला. सगळ्या गोष्टी एक एक करून फुडें वचूंक जाय. काय गोष्टी सबज्युडिस आसात, ते कोर्ट केसीस कितले आसा टाउन प्लॅनिंग डिपार्टमेंटाच्यो, ह्यो सगळे स्टडी करून एक आमी करपाचो आमचो प्रयत्न आसलो. आतांच सांगले पळय रिजनल प्लॅन बी करपाक गेल्यार आमी सीटीपीचे अंडर सीटीपीचे बाय ऍक्ट ही इज द मेन पर्सन हू ओवरलुक्स एवरीथिंग. पण आमी एक कन्सल्टंट म्हणजे जो टाउन प्लॅनिंग कन्सल्टंट असता ह्यो तरेचे एजन्सीज घेवन आमी त्या तरेन आमकां फुडें वचूंक जाय. तुमकां जर गोंय सुंदर आनी सुरक्षीत उरोवंक जाय तर आमकां एक युनिफॉर्म प्लॅनिंग कन्सेप्टच्या माध्यमांतल्यान फुडें वचूंक जाय. फुडें वचूंक जाय जाल्यार हीच एक फुडली दिशा. व्हडल्या राज्यान दिल्ली बिल्ली सगळे कडेन प्लॅनिंग त्याच तरेन करतात. त्या तरेचे कन्सल्टंट घेवन ऑन बोर्ड घेवन ते करपाची गरज आसतली. आमी खंयच्याय पिडीएक परमिशन दिवचे ना टू डू ओडीपी ऑन देयर ओन विदाउट अ कन्सल्टंट.
so 1000 cases are there under 16B. So which will be reviewed and all that
Of
means,
course it will be
yeah. So that means how these cases were
Let's
still
not
were given
talk
permission.
about the past. We were
1000
reviewing
over,
the
sir.
cases. If it doesn't happen in 45 days, they'll take 60 days. They'll do it.
No, but somebody would be held responsible for
So
this.
there's no question of being responsible. There are a lot of people whose cases come up. You cannot put a restriction on number of cases. It's okay, but we are only going to go through. Since I have taken over as a minister, I would like to understand what has been happening in the department, and I have full faith in the department. We will see that we are putting everything in public domain.
फुडलो रिजनल प्लॅन करपाचे विचार आहा.
फुडले रिजनल प्लॅन करपाचे विचार आसपाक पयलीं सगळे समजून घेवंक जाय डिपार्टमेंटाचे जे कितें आहा. हे सगळे गोश्ट्यो फुडें कशे प्लॅनिंगच्या माध्यमांतल्यान कशे फुडें वयचे आनी लोकांच्या हितान कशे कांय गोश्टी चालू उरोवंक जाय. लास्टाक ल्हान लोकांचो बी प्रश्न आसता. सगळ्या लोकांचो प्रश्न. गोवा इज अ ट्युरिझम स्टेट. सगळे तरेन आमकां जर विचार करून फुडें वचूंक जाय तर व्यवस्थीत विचार करून पावल एक पावल घेवन फुडें वचूंक जाय.
So earlier,
16B ची गरज उरची.
आयज सध्या 16B इज कम बाय लेजिस्लेशन इन द असेंब्ली.
correct.
आणि लेजिस्लेशनाक आमी ऑलरेडी पास केल्लो लेजिस्लेशन इट इज सबज्युडिस. थंय बी आमी लॉजिकल एंडाक आमी वयतले. ते करून मागीर तुमी जेन्ना विषय तेजो येता तेन्ना तुमकां कळटा.
So earlier, the earlier minister had never.
आय डोंट नो टू कमेंट. हांवें सांगलें तुका सगळें दिलां आन्सर कित्याक.